of Stars of Tomorrow, and it's episode 13. I am Heather Cannon. I am the co-founder and executive director of Uniting Distant Stars.
Hello, everybody. My name is Kevin Na. I am a volunteer here with Uniting Distant Stars, and I co-host this lovely podcast with Heather.
And we want to open it up to our guests today to introduce themselves. So we'll start with you, Patrick.
Hi, I'm Patrick Kulikin. I'm the editor-in-chief of Minnesota Reformer, which is a small nonprofit news outlet here in Minnesota. I previously was at the Minneapolis Star-Tribune and other newspapers across the United States.
Okay, welcome. Dee?
Yeah. Okay. I'm Richardson, and commonly called D. And then I do broadcast and did journalism from the Media Foundation, Liberia, Peter School of Journalism. And then currently I'm not practicing, but I'm trying to formulate and see how best I can integrate students in that side of a field to get the passion and love for journalism. So I got a diploma in journalism, and most especially to be specific in broadcasting.
Testing? Okay. All right. Before we get into discussion, I just wanted to take a moment to dedicate this podcast to my uncle, Stan Turner. He was a longtime broadcaster on radio and in TV. He was the news anchor and news director of KSTP Channel 5 News here in the Minneapolis-St. Paul area. He passed away in September, but this was his life, and he did value the importance of journalism. And so we felt this was a very important discussion in the times we are facing. So I'm going to give you guys both a moment to kind of talk about what are you seeing right now in the landscape of journalism. So Patrick, let's start with you. What are you seeing as challenges and opportunities right now here, Minnesota and the U.S.?
Well, there's been a really revolutionary change in media and journalism here in the last 25 years. Has been brought on by technological change. Traditionally, we had powerful newspaper and radio companies that had near monopolies on advertising in their local markets. And many of the owners had an ethic of using at least some of the profits for ethical news gathering. That has all mostly collapsed due to the major tech companies, social media companies eating up all the advertising revenue. And even Craigslist kind of destroying the classified advertising revenue for media. And so we've lost a third of our newspapers, I think, in the United States, and a significant number in Minnesota as well. Minnesota has not been immune from any of this, although we have a more robust infrastructure than much of the U.S. We have good public radio. We still have a very strong local newspaper. And then there's also been, and this is where I'll talk about opportunities, the idea of nonprofit news. So news that is, and journalism that is not focused on revenue and expenses so much, but on really a service to the public and delivering important information and all the things that newspapers traditionally did are migrating over to nonprofit news, and there's a lot of advantages to that. We are more focused on sharing our work. In fact, that's a big part of our mission. We don't think of ourselves as owning the news. We think of ourselves as important guardians of it. And a lot of philanthropists have realized that without a robust media and journalism system, it's going to affect our democracy, and we're already seeing that very much so, up close and personal. And so the network I'm part of, this is exactly their insight about in 2018 or so, that especially at the state level, although there's plenty of national journalism and Washington, D.C. journalism, a lot of state capitals, which is where a lot of the most important business gets done, had those capital bureaus have been really emptied out. And so the network I'm part of has now started 39 different state-based journalism outfits based in state capitals. We were the 12th, I think. And so we've continued to grow. And then we have partnerships with the other 11 states. So we're now essentially in 50 states. And so I think that's where there's great opportunity in nonprofit journalism. It's just a matter of getting our feet under us and getting the public to see the importance of news, fact-based news.
Fact-based news, yes. Dee, do you want to share the challenges and opportunities of journalism in Liberia?
Yeah, sure. From what I heard from Patrick, I think it's a little bit much more sound good in Minnesota there, but for Liberia, journalism do not have much relevant, most especially when you want to practice some mainstream journalism. You want to be over the fence to give the rightful information. For Liberia, it's kind of a difficult. You won't be guided on the security aspect. Your life gonna be in danger, and then so much things gonna happen to you if you want to be truth about what you see, and then what you cover to give it out in that form and manner in Liberia. In Liberia, journalists do not have the formal protection from the government, from the public, and it's just about in Liberia. Just about once you want to be a journalist, you have to be a PRO in that manner. If you being hired to a radio station, or you apply to a radio station here, or a print entity, maybe to a newspaper, you actually write in favor of the particular entity that you are writing for, or the particular entity that you are broadcasting for. I'm saying this to say that in Liberia, there are proliferation of radio station media or entity that somebody can just come up, oh, I got money, I want to open my radio station, and then he or she open it, and then employ journalists to work with their will and pleasure, not by working according to the ethics and principles and guidelines of journalism. I believe that a journalist should be someone to serve as a watchdog, to be able to disseminate information as how it is, and to be able to help the society at large. But in Liberia, journalists encounter lots of problems. Another thing is that when it comes to equipment, they 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 don't supply you sufficient equipment, most especially when you want to do a podcast like what we're doing now, and then you want to go out into some rural area in Liberia, like out of the capital, you want to do some story on the less fortunate children who have been affected from the war situation. You don't have that. We don't have that kind of equipment here. The only people that are leveraged to that kind of equipment is the government or radio station or TV station. Most of the private or station here, journalists are here. We catch difficult time, and to the extent that I, for one, I decided my ambition. I'm a journalist. I'm a trained journalist, but while I'm not practicing it currently, I had a job to a radio station before, but I'm a journalist to say the reality, but people want to restrict you what to say, what you have or cover as a story to be able to disseminate to the public that will be able to help the people and managers for the radio station they will say, hey, no, you can't do this, you can't say this, and this is not good for they want you to serve as a PRO in a nutshell. They just want you to promote the image of the radio stations, say what is best for the owner of that radio listening pleasure. And most of our owners of the radio station here in the media department or the media community in Liberia, they are all politicians. And logically, politician cannot really run a radio station or run a media entity because for one fact, maybe probably you fall into some angering situation. You will not like it to be broadcast, or you will not like the public to know. So you say, hey, we don't want you to say this. In fact, when you go about the story out there, you bring the story, and then they will LA say, hey, this one cannot be played because XYZ is part of this entity and supporting this entity somehow, some way. So for the media in Liberia here, we experience lots of problems. And this is one of the problems that I choose not to work to any radio station, and maybe probably to just do my own thing on a platform wherein I will get the real story and then deliver it to the people, get them to know what are the happenings within our community and to develop our country at large. Because if you decide to carry this information to whatever entity that you are working for, they will want to look into it, sift through it, and then take out things that that are some of their doings, and they will not like you to see it, to tell the public about the Nicodemus acts. So I decided to refrain from that and then to just integrate it into school, like where I'm working with UDS now. Currently, we are teaching students how to get involved with journalism, and gradually they are doing well. Just that we of material, but Patrick, in Liberia, journalism is difficult. It's 2 years. Journalists is not protected. Yeah, journalists. Maybe if you can go back to Liberia and then go to Google, you see some journalists have been beaten up. Journalists have been houses have been burned, and I'm a witness for that here in Liberia. So I sometimes ask the question whether there is an international law that is also governing journalists around the world. Or whether this law, if it is there, whether it is implemented in Liberia, because for Liberia, journalists do not have respect. In fact, when you are a journalist in Liberia, some of your friends will tell you, "Mate, you're not ready. You're ready. You can't be journalists yet. Journalists don't have money. Journalists can't make money. Journalists don't do that. The only way you make money in Liberia, except you become a PRO, you decide to promote a particular person that owns an entity." So I think so far, this is how we catching up here. This Helen, this is so far.
Okay. So there is similarities, but some contrast. So in Liberia, I'm hearing that it's not safe to be a journalist if you want to speak truth.
Yeah, if you want to speak truth.
And I know that both countries kind of have like whoever owns the media company, that's what should be said and nothing more. So I think that's happening in both countries. And just,
Yeah.
I don't know. So Patrick, is there a law that international law that protects journalists, or is that just by country?
No, I'm afraid not. I mean, and if we look at the Committee to Protect Journalists recording all of the violence and repression, we know that there's certainly no law that's being enforced. And I don't mean to minimize the fact that this is also happening in the United States, and increasingly so, that journalists face threats and in rare cases actual violence. And I think what's disturbing about this, and I also don't mean to equate it with what you're all facing because it's not on the same level. But what's concerning is the trend. I mean, some of what's happening now would be unthinkable even 10 years ago in the United States. So definitely certain what were thought to be absolute inviolate norms about journalists being pressured and harassed and threatened are now seem to be really very much up in the air. And then also, of course, the current president is he's installing his allies in the biggest media companies. And in some cases, I mean, he's engineering their sale to his allies, like in the case of TikTok. The TikTok is a powerful social media channel, and he's engineered it to be owned by his political allies. His political ally owns X. He is forced the owner of Facebook and the Washington Post. They're all now very much captured by the Trump administration. So we're moving in the wrong direction, that's for sure. But I'm quite certain we don't face the challenges you do in Liberia. As much as it does sound familiar that although what they really want is PR, they don't want journalism. That does sound familiar.
Sure. Oh.
Everyone got a question?
Yeah, I'm just wondering, well, for anyone. So we were just talking about, the different environments for both the United States and Liberia. Um, why would you say it's important for, governments to drive the narrative, and what is it that they're possibly afraid of when the truth is told, as far as through journalism?
Okay. So it's a question to me?
It's to anyone. I'm just wondering why. I'm just wondering
Yeah.
why would the government be afraid
Yeah.
of the truth getting it out?
I got you. You see, for Liberia, uh, our politicians normally use the media to propagate their message, and then and so for that reason, you find the proliferation of radio station, different media entity to being set up by some guys who have money and then also have the ambition to be some political figure, and then they use that conduit to 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 shoot out the messages, and most especially in Liberia, or journalists. I don't know for the ones that actually work for the state radio or the state print team, but for one thing I know is that even the state radio also protect the government. That's why when it goes somehow contrary to some legal things that's supposed to be done in Liberia, or to maybe at the advantage of the citizen, even the state radio also cover up that. And for Liberia, it's just that way, because if there was a high restriction on or individual to open a radio station, there must be an evaluation. There must be an evaluation, because radio travel information faster. And then when you have an individual who open a radio station with a dirty motive, and then he used the media to promote himself, and then show all the good things that he does within the part of time before prior to election, and then he uses the same radio station, the same guy being employed to say these things on the radio. So it's difficult. It's difficult, like what you said. Yeah, it's happening here in Liberia. It's happening here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I always found it interesting how, if you're if you're doing what you're supposed to do, then you don't have any reason to worry about anything getting out. I mean, people have a right to know, who they're, voting for, what's going on like in their, whether it's a community or even the country as a whole. So in a way, I just feel like a way that you're really just hurting, your nation or your people as a whole, if you don't have that information, because you know, knowledge is power. So if you don't have the know-how, then how are you even supposed to improve? That's just my thing.
You
And I
should
just,
show, because if you want to say the real thing and they get to know that you keep pressing on saying the real thing, you're gonna get yourself fired. And then, hey, we don't need kind of people here. If you can't follow our system here, then you out of job. Then you have to work out things your own way to get to the public. And here to work out things your own way, you have government. You need to get registered, and then you need to. The government still need to know about how you go about doing your journalism, because if you continuous giving out the rightful things that are happening, and then without or entity, they will go for you. They will go behind you. They will try to suppress you. But somehow, some way, hey, you are not registered. You are not to do this, and then they're gonna trace you. If you keep going to do that, it's a risk. It's a threat to your life. Here in Liberia, if you try to give the real thing here, and you're being persistent about it, maybe you work to the radio station and then you get yourself fired, and then you still go to manage to get some stuff doing on the media, and still like for maybe on a Facebook or opening a page, maybe a platform, still these guys gonna get at you. They're gonna send some people to know where you stay, where you doing, how they can get you tracked down. This is the entire thing that is entangling with the journalists in Liberia. So if you want to be a journalist here, you got to work in line with how things is being played. And when you work in line with how things be practicing on mainstream journalism, because you are a journalist and you have to practice a mainstream journalism by saying the truth for your people to govern themselves and to know what are unfolding on a daily basis. But if you're being restricted of things that happens and then not saying it, then we are going to be like the citizen or the people going to be misled and be going one side. There are a lot of things that happen in the country whenever the media carry it, and then when it comes out from another background, or maybe from few individual mouth one on one, people will say, "Hey, now what happened?" And then other people will say, "Hey, this is what happened." I have witnessed a situation in Liberia that media has caused problems with the information that it gave during 2011 electoral process. There were information that came from a radio station who was the guy that was promoting a particular individual who was into the political arena, and then information he gave was contrary. So, hey, people went to the radio station, wanted to throw it, burn it, they wanted to do all kinds of things because that was not the truth.
I
So
just,
it's
I just Googled for perspective. Although Liberia's constitution is modeled after the US, they don't have an equivalent to the First Amendment. So that's
Freedom of
probably
speech.
why things are the way they are in Liberia. So not only is there not an international law, they don't have an
And then
amendment in their constitution to
domestic law.
protect. Yeah, yeah. So I think that explains that. Patrick, you caught me. So Craigslist took all the advertising dollars. That was news to me. So how did
The
that come to be?
Yeah, classified advertising. So that was
Classified. Okay, okay, got
right.
it.
Yeah. So
So
in the
that was
old
a big
days,
money maker for
it
classifieds or
was
big money.
it was back in the day. It was if you wanted to sell your used car, how else would you do it except
Through
through
the
the
paper.
newspaper classified? And so they could charge really a significant amount for a 3-line ad for a used car, and then obviously that all dried up. So there was that, and then of course the display advertising um, also reduced significantly. And then, of course, people, they're not, I mean, they're not interested in getting a pile of paper at their doorstep every day to get their news. That, you know, when it's available in their pocket 24 hours a day. And online digital ad rates are much lower than the print ad rates were.
Because there's probably more effort in the print ads than a digital ad that requires more money. That makes, okay. And is the Reformer all digital? There's no paper copy that goes out
Yeah,
then?
we're all digital, right? We have no ads.
Okay.
And no paywall. We're entirely free. And we also encourage republication. So
Okay.
we allow and encourage republication. So I get a report every week about the many newspapers and radio stations who are using our stories for free.
Okay.
Yeah, and that is a big part of our model.
What do you think your reach is right now? You think you're hitting all the states, or are you getting international views or reposts?
Well, yeah, I mean, it just depends. You know, when Tim Walz was selected to be the vice presidential nominee, and we had a story. I mean, there was, you know, we had hundreds of republications in that
Okay.
case because people wanted, you know, a quick biography of this relatively unknown person.
Okay.
But we do focus on Minnesota, so there's really, for the most part, our stories are relatively, um, you know, in the Midwest. Our national nonprofit has a Washington D.C. bureau, and we publish from them, and those get picked up for republication. But we feel like it's important to focus on local places that have so often lost media and journalism.
Are you filling the void for like Greater Minnesota that lost their local newspapers then?
Yes, and especially when they lost their St. Paul, their capital bureau, and they don't really have the ability to do statewide politics and policy coverage, and we're there to fill that hole for them.
Yeah, because I think Hutchinson, Leader, some of them have closed down. So, okay, so there is someone that's trying to replace that.
That's our goal.
Okay. Okay, yeah, because I know that's been a big concern throughout the country is a lot of the local news, both broadcasting and print, have been closing down or being taken over. Okay.
Yeah, and when you lose that, I mean, it's already been shown that you wind up with more local government corruption and all kinds of problems with open meeting and open government. Once no one is watching, then the politicians get up to their shenanigans.
That makes sense.
Right. My question's for Dee. So in Liberia, other than maybe broadcasting the news, is there any other means or modes of delivering the news, whether it's print or digital, or is it mainly just by airwaves, radio airwaves?
Yeah, there are other means. There are other means. There are
Okay.
other means of doing that here.
Mhm.
As I said, if you want to do that, then you have to be somehow, some way connected to some high profile individual, or maybe somebody to help govern or protect you in case of any problems. But there are means here. People are doing it.
Okay. So in your experience, which have you seen to be the most effective as far as being able to get it to people, and which one has been received the most?
Um, I have seen this guy who I think he's in the United States now, Martin Colley. Martin Colley is one of the person that I've seen, and 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 another individual who my mind can click to now, but I have seen that, but Martin Colley is one person that I have seen in that direction.
So he's a Liberian in the States that's reporting?
Yeah, he sent information because he have a print media here in Liberia. I think his newspaper name might be uh think Daily Talk or something, but he got a print media here. He sent information, and then more of the he had in the newspaper there. He's in America there. I think he's doing some studies, also reporting.
Okay.
Can you do any anonymous? Could you have a website and be anonymous and do reporting, or do anonymous reporting on social media like X or some other social media site?
For me,
Yes. Or
no, no. I haven't a flow with that individually, but when I was with OKFM in Liberia, I used to do that with the radio entity when I was working with OKFM in town. But as an individual, I haven't since I decided to quit because things not too straight here. I haven't thought of that. I haven't done any of such
One of the biggest
when I was.
challenge over there, Patrick, is reliable internet.
mm,
Yeah. And being able to afford it.
mhm.
I mean,
Yeah, those are some of the things we take for granted on this side of the pond.
so would someone be able to write anonymously, like behind I guess a pen name? It's called. Patrick, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I guess behind some sort of like alias or something like that. Is
That's what
an-
Malala did. That's what Malala did when she was in Pakistan. I think she was writing either to the BBC or the New York Times, and she had an alias that she was doing.
yeah,
How
because
much
I
is
feel like Oh, go ahead.
how much is monthly internet? How much is the cost for monthly internet?
Correct.
In terms of like as a percentage of a person's wages or something.
Well, we're paying right now at the center $75 a month. And it's not, broadband. We're still relying on the Wi-Fi single with the router and stuff. And like, we're just getting out of rainy season right now, so you can have more dropped service during the rainy season, which is like starts May and starting in November. But like for an average person, they might not be making $75 a month. So a lot of people are using their mobile data. And Dee, how much is like $2 get you in data right now? US dollars.
$2.
Okay, close to $5 US. I know it will be $4.
Or $4
Yeah, it would be
now?
$4. You're talking about
Mobile
yeah
data.
in
Well, how much
Liberia.
mobile data do you get for $4 US then?
How much data we get for $4?
$4 will be 10 gig.
10 gigabyte.
10 gigabytes. Okay.
But for the $5 only can be 13 gigabytes for 7 days.
So if you want to go for $5, there's 13 gigabyte for 7 days. Yeah.
For 7 days. Okay.
That has to do with how you normally go about using it, because our internet system is kind of a whole, it's kind of boring, and it's costly, and government don't do nothing about that. We use one of the most expensive stuff here, because if you recharge if you recharge $1 and activate it to a gigabyte, $1 gigabyte runs you up to 24 hours. So depend the kind of social use you're going to use it about, maybe the platform you're going to use the data for require how long you're going to stay. Yeah.
Mhm.
So
And we have the Wi-Fi here, but the connection is not very stable. So sometimes we use it, sometimes we use the mobile data.
Thanks, Fred, for clarifying that. Yeah, because we just installed, when I was there last October, we installed what we have. And I know that sometimes it drops. So, yeah, I mean, it's not, if you want to get like the broadband, Patrick, you're probably be paying $500 a month for unlimited service, which prices out pretty much the majority of the people.
Sure.
Mhm.
Can I ask, was there USAID programming in Liberia?
There was, but I don't know if they got into media though, did they? Dee?
no,
Okay.
it is something that uh, has just been introduced, but not all of the media is doing that. Yeah, it's something that just been introduced. I just few for now.
Wait a minute, like, does, you know, USAID, did they ever have funding for media?
Except you work with the state radio or a private entity.
Okay,
But
okay.
for government don't send subsidy to private radio entity. No, government only take care of their own radio or media team. They only take care of the state radio. But with the exception of that, no, they don't do it. They don't do it. Yeah.
So so most of your materials, as far as, I guess maybe a computer or, any other resources you need, that's all funded personally, not by, whoever you may be reporting for or working for.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, for now, we need a lot of things because there are a lot of programs that we try to impact on, most especially with the kids in the school here. We want to engage community. We want to engage county, things that I have put in place, and then I was just looking up to Mr. Foma as to how he can to talk to you guys over there to see how best he can send some of these material that we will be able to use to get into bigger programs to be able to update you guys with the latest happenings, and there are programs that have already been set up with just that material. So it will be a great pleasure and a help if we have material here, because in Liberia, one of our challenges, material quality of material to actually cover story. And I think if we can be supported with that, it's going to be great. We want to be overwhelmed with that.
One of the things I know being in Liberia, a lot of times if you want something reported on about like an event or something, Kevin, you
Mhm.
actually have to pay the journalist. Because
Okay.
they're not actually gonna, you're not actually going through the company, you're actually paying the journalist because they probably need the funds to cover their needs, so they're not being taken care of. So I just know
Sure.
that's something from my experience over there, which at this time, I don't think we do that in the US, right, Patrick? That you have to.
Yeah, we don't allow that.
Yeah. So, yeah, so those are some of the differences, but it is, I believe journalism is important. It's where we,
Absolutely.
my age group, moving from, paper, TV and radio into the digital space, we saw that very clearly, and where people get their information now. So like here, when you have 24/7 electricity and internet, you have a lot more options, where in Liberia, you still have those options, but you can be limited in how long you can be online. And I think those are some of the also the challenges, I think one of the biggest things I hear from journalists is saying there used to be a shared set of facts, but that's kind of eroded now.
Okay. So to your earlier point, so let's say there's a politician in Liberia or a government official that they want like an event covered, they still have to pay a journalist to cover it or a news outlet.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, there would have to be, in order for them to take the time to write it up or whatever, if it's
Mhm.
print or whatever. Yeah,
Okay.
because they probably have to, if they want to broadcast it, they probably have to pay for some of the footage and stuff like that. So it's not, it's not where they have the equipment. I think a lot of people end up having to buy their own little things to do what they have to do. It's not like for Patrick, they have their resources, they can do what they need to do. So that's where the big contrast is. And I mean, and there's a lot of, both sides, there's a lot of chatter in the media. There's always commentary and, people sharing their thoughts, opinions and all that. But actual, like, I don't think you're going to see as much robust investigative journalism in Liberia as you would here.
Mhm.
So I think that's where the difference is.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Yeah, investigating journalism in Liberia is good. It's one of the things that I think
okay.
uh, 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 because in a developing country, you have to prioritize investigating journalism because these are ways you can use to understand the happenings and to know how to engage the problem, most especially when you have the full support of God or giving you ear and supporting you in that manner. So, but in Liberia, investigative journalism is just restricted to only politics. Everybody wants to investigate politics. You want to know what the man's doing. It's just directed into a one side, but they are not looking at it from another perspective. And I think Liberia, we need to look at that. Investigating journalism in Liberia, it could help. It can
Mhm.
help us to faster. I think in Liberia, it can help.
It sounds like the opportunity then for Liberia is to have more investigative journalism to get to the
Yeah.
heart of the story and exposing things. So that
Yeah.
makes
Finding
sense.
ways to circumvent, the norm.
Yeah.
Well,
So when you do that, you gotta be strong.
so Patrick, I want to go back to, so I see you're in the nonprofit space and we've seen some of the public radio lose their funding, but you said there was funding in your area. I mean, how are you managing in this state of environment now?
Well, we started with some major philanthropy, but now that uh, we've been around for 5 years, we've attracted a loyal following, and I mean, it's a lot of people giving 10 or 15 or $25 a month. I mean, we get some major um, donations as well, but there's really success begets success. So if you do stories that people find compelling and they feel like you're an important resource to the community, then they will support you. Is what I found in my experience. But none of this happens without a particular billionaire philanthropist who got us started. Somebody in a different nonprofit space once told me that the synonym for philanthropy is profit. You can't give away a bunch of money unless somebody somewhere made it. Maybe they inherited it, but at some point somebody made money, and that translated into philanthropy. So that is, you know, maybe not ideal. But on the other hand, I've never been in a freer environment than I do now, because the major donors that have given to States Newsroom, our national nonprofit, they have no interest in Minnesota. They probably barely know where it is, and so they have no interest in telling me what stories to write or not write. And aside from avoiding being sued for defamation, and not embarrassing the network, they have given me, you know, almost total free reign to cover news that I think is important in politics or policy, including pretty hard edge investigations of powerful institutions like 3M and the Minnesota Vikings and the Minneapolis Police Department. So I've been very happy in that way. You know, previously I worked at I thought large news organizations can be very risk averse. And then I worked at a family owned paper in Las Vegas, where the owner was just, his business interests were far too entangled with the business interests of people I was writing and reporting about, and it created conflicts that were untenable. So the situation I have now is it's pretty close to ideal. I mean, you know, if I won the lottery, I would probably, then we would be truly, it would be mine and I'd be making all the decisions. But aside from that, you know, this is a pretty good situation in terms of independence. So I feel very fortunate.
Which I know is a growing happening right now, is independent media. I know a lot of journalists that were on major networks that either got let go or decided to leave are definitely in that space and feeling that freedom that you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, if you were at the Washington Post, you know, now you're looking over your shoulder and wondering, what is Jeff Bezos going to do or say about this story that you're working on that's going to be embarrassing for the Trump administration, when he has so many regulatory issues and government contracts that he has to worry about. And so we're really returning to a sort of 19th century model of journalism in many ways.
Okay. All right. Well, this was a good discussion, and it's like Liberia has to move to another direction. They've kind of been stuck in an area where, one, they don't have like a First Amendment like we do, and maybe opportunity where people had maybe more autonomy, and not be, you know, under the gun. And how does that look? And Patrick, you've seen erosion, but you've found a way to maybe help fill in the gap by your nonprofit model and being more independent, because yes, we are seeing a lot of local TV and newspapers disappearing. And so D, one of the things he did is he, you know, lucky he had someone who could support him right away, but now he has individuals that donate, that keeps this going. But yeah, it was that nice having that startup, but he's not under a corporate model anymore. And so I think we're seeing it in other places. We've seen where journalism, you know, especially in war zones and stuff like that, they can be attacked, they can be killed, things of that nature. And so there is a concern probably worldwide about journalism, but I think this was helpful to understand maybe similarities, differences, where things are going. So I just want to say thank you for coming here and enlightening us, because I think we have so much noise in the media now with social media. Sometimes we do lose sight of what's really going on. Any last thoughts?
Keep fighting.
Tea fighting,
We-
yes. That's about it. So that's a good thought. So let me just do a quick recap of some announcements. First of all, one of our longtime supporters, Yema Brewer, was just in town on Thursday, and she was able to visit the center. I think Dee, you met her, right? Yema?
Yeah, sure.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah,
So it was
we
nice.
talked.
Good. And I know she spent time with you guys, so that was great. She's
Yeah.
very much on climate change and environmental stuff. That's been her passion. So I was glad that she could get back. We're having our second round of strategic planning on November 15th. Our first one was on October 4th. We do have a blog post out there about some of the focus groups we did with students and staff, and I know Dee and was part of the staff one. We have our Give to the Max Day coming up on November 20th. There'll be a $1,500 matching gift. And we have our next virtual tea time where people can meet with students and staff on November 22nd. And I know Kevin enjoyed the one he was on. Of course, there's Giving Tuesday on December 2nd. And Tashi George is doing a virtual fundraiser on December 9th. So we understand, Patrick, when you need money to do your work. So those are some of the things we got coming up. And again, we want to thank both Dee and Patrick for just a very wonderful conversation today. We thank you for your time. We will be publishing this next Saturday and sharing it on the socials. And we just hope all of you that are listening, you find this information helpful and useful. We are an educational organization. And Kevin, you got anything else to close us off?
Just to thank everybody for the support. Thank you for Patrick and Dee for joining us today. Had a great time meeting you all, and just the fun conversation. And if you guys do have other topics you'd like Heather and I to cover here on the podcast, certainly respond in the comments when you watch the video, or wherever you listen. We do check those. And if you'd like some more information on Uniting Distant Stars and any of our other initiatives, you can always check out the website at unitingdistantstars.org. And we just sorry, why do I always think it's
I
sorry,
know
it's
we're a comp. It's cheaper
Hey,
than the org.
hey, eventually we'll get there. We'll get there eventually. .com, excuse me. But you can also check us out on our social media platforms on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook as well.
All
And
right.
then on our YouTube channel.
Yes. Thank you, everyone, and we'll see you next month.
All
Bye.
right. Bye,
Okay.
everyone.
Bye.
Okay, thank you.